So, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Mr. Soul Lover Man, we are back and we are live and in living color. Let me see. But I hope everybody's out there doing good and great and all that good stuff. So, today we are talking about manifesting with a child's heart. Yes, we are. We are talking about manifesting with a child's heart. And within that, when you were a kid, your mind was so much clearer. It was like any and everything was possible, when you were younger, when you were a child. um and granted, I get everybody's childhood is different, but as we get older, we have all of these experiences and we build up all this trauma. So manifesting is a little bit more taxing, I would say. For some, for it, I would say manifesting is a little bit more taxing for some than others out there. Because as they say, life be life, and man. Seriously, it's like it is true. Life is always life, and for whatever reason. And okay, hopefully that stays like that. Yeah, as they say, man, life be life, and man. And getting your get sometimes to get like back to that childhood, euphoric state, just putting yourself back in that mindset, when you were a kid and you had so many questions. You had the zest for life, and people say, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And you probably had a million and one things that you wanted to be. But as we get older, I know that there's this guy on social media. He goes around and he asks people, "Hey, what's your dream? What is your dream?" If this is your first time watching me, don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. So this gentleman, a lot of he goes around and he asks people, like, what is your dream? Because a lot of people, as we get older, some of us, we go to college and we end up, we get a degree and we end up doing things that's not even associated with our major. We end up working in like different whatever, and believe you me, I've been there. I went to school for business and I did management here and there, but and then you end up doing all kind of other stuff. But hey, money has to roll in, I guess. But and asking people, yeah, like what is your dream? And people would say like, hey, I wanted to be this. I wanted to, I wanted to be that. But some life happens. People go down different roads. We go down different avenues. But for whatever reasons, we make our choices, and sometimes we look at it and we're like, well, it's not going to get any better than this. So and we use that S word. We use, a lot of people just settle, and that's their life, you know. But the beautiful thing is that you can still you can still manifest different things, within your life, things that you need. Um, your your greatest heart's desire, desires, and all of that, that cause I personally seen it happen, for I've manifested jobs and all of that other stuff, and travel, of course. You have to put work in behind all of that stuff, but it's very much, it's very much It's very much possible. So we are talking about manifesting with a child's heart. So today we are talking about manifesting with a child's heart. And if this is your first time watching yours truly, don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. So, and that's one of the main things. Going back thinking like, man, when I was a kid, it was like every it's like I had my whole life in front of me, and I think that's why people get to a certain age and they have these midlife crises and whatever, and they think like, oh no, and they start to panic, and they start to like, they start to panic, they start to freak out, and they start to think like, oh no, I haven't lived like any of my dreams, I haven't lived like a lot of the things that I wanted to do. Maybe they get married, maybe they have kids, and they're like, "Hey, I'm happy in my marriage and my kids," but you know, they start to they start to freak out. So that's what I don't want you to do, and what I would love for you, and what I would love for you and your life is just to focus on what it is that what it is that your heart truly desires. This is a immaculate time to put that stuff out there. However it is you do it, however it is that you believe that however it is that you believe that it's going to come to pass. So, personally, I manifest in different ways. I do. So, and for you, how you do that is how you do it. Trying to get this little thing on. Hope that works. No, maybe no. Yeah, and and how you manifest is how you manifest and how you bring things into fruition is how you're going to do it. Some people may pray it, and I remember when I was a kid, there was this little thing called the wishbone. You could find it in, like, I don't know, like chicken or whatever, like whatever, you know what I mean. And we would like break it and make a wish, or maybe on your birthday, they would have candles, and they say, hey, close your eyes and blow up the candle and make a wish, or they would say, hey, look up at, I would see when there was less pollution in the air, and I could look up and see the stars, and I would go outside and I would wish on the star. But what I'm saying is have that childlike imagination when have that childlike imagination, as you're manifesting, you know um like somebody would tell me like, oh, you're always, you're always in your imagination. Like, yeah, because I don't want that inner child. um I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that inner child inside of me to. I want the inner child inside of me to die out. I always want to, no matter what age I am, at what point in my life. I always want to go and try to. I'm always going to go and enjoy life. People on YouTube are funny. I'm always going to go out and try to enjoy life, better my situation, not freak out and get into the line with everybody else. Oh, well, it's me. There's no this, there's no that. I don't find that to be true. The world is still spinning. We're still alive. So there are grand and major opportunities that are out there for you, and it's all, and a lot of it is really all in what you want. It's like your your childlike aptitude when you were a kid. It's like, probably way through the roof. And don't let or try not to let other people, how they their how they judge you and how they look at you, and like somebody said, you're far greater than a piece of paper, be it your degree, your diploma, your resume, whatever that is. You're so much you're so much far greater than that, than some just that that describes probably a small piece of you and who you are, what you've been through, um what you're continuing to what you're continuing to go through, grow through, and all of that good stuff. People say they get your resume, they skim over it for, like, I don't know. Those recruiters, they look at it for, like, what, I don't know, 30 seconds, something like that. But you're so much greater than that. And you're boundless, and and who you are, and who you're continuing to grow to be. I've heard stories of people, walking away from high levels of education because they're going through, their spiritual journey, and things like that. To a lot of people, that may not make sense. Seriously, it may not make sense. But again, this is your life, and you one thing I'll say about this spiritual journey is, like, there's really, like, no roadmap. A lot of it, even for a lot of us that's been on it for a while, for years, a lot of it still doesn't make any sense. But for me, I am, I'm calm with it. I'm at peace with it, and I continue on the journey. I continue on the journey. You're going to grow into the most powerful versions of yourself. Like somebody said, and some reality out there, there's a version of you that exists, that dream version, that has the car, or the house, the whatever it is, the land, and all of that stuff. You have all of, you have, like, you have all of that, and then some. What's it? You have, like, you have so much. You have so much at, really and truly at the palms of your hands, if you truly want it. Yes, you do have to go through some stuff. A lot of us don't. I don't want to hear that. I feel like I've been through enough. I'm ready to, like they say back home, laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go to the, I'm ready to go to the moon, man, and back. Like, for real. Like, really and truly, that's like where I am with it. And we're talking about manifesting with the we're talking about manifesting with the heart of a child. That's the topic for today. And that's how, with a lot of grace and all of that other stuff, you get that's how you can get your manifestations to come through faster. And it may take, a lot of us, like I said, a lot of us have been through some stuff, and it may take you to whatever to get back to that state of mind. Because in a child's mind, there everything is like, and I work with kids. I see them, like, the other day. I was telling these kids, I was like, man, I said, man, when we get older, we're gonna be rich. One of the kids said, we're already rich. And I said, you know what? I agree with you 100%. So there is, like, and kids speak the absolute truth, man. And I love, especially, like, the little ones, like, there's just there's the imagination, and and their minds are just open. Like, these kids are special, man. Like, these kids are just very, 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 very. I don't just say not different in a bad way. These kids are, like, amazing, man. Like, for real. Who is that? Guns Mandela. Hey, welcome in. So again, as you're manifesting, you have the heart of a child. It's always there. It doesn't go away. I always say the child within you is to be protected at all costs. Just say that again. The child within you is to be protected at all costs. So just dream a little dream so it can become an immaculate vision. Like seriously, you still you still have time. Drink this water. And again, you go and you find that place where you go within and you find that and even in your surroundings, you go to that quiet happy place. You go to that space where you feel you're most powerful wherever it is. If it's in your room, if it's in a library surrounded by books, if it's outside in your backyard, or I don't know, with the park or whatever, in your car, you go to that definitive place where you feel the most powerful version of yourself, and you're manifesting with the heart of a child that is always there within you. So you're calling, you're calling that forward, and you're writing down, speaking whatever it is they're saying, writing it down, whatever it is, and then you close it, because you don't have to just keep saying the same thing over and over again, because your angel guides, God, your whoever you deal with, you walk with, they probably heard you the first time. So and it feels like they're looking for you to be. It's not begging. It's not like when you're praying. It's not begging or anything like that. It's like you're calling forth, um because time is already, I don't know, time out here, it feels, I was talking to one of the kids at the schools, and he said, Dustin, he was saying, like, we were talking about the weather, and he said, doesn't the weather feel weird, like he said something isn't right, and I said, I agree with you. And he drew a diagram. He said, like, he drew our earth, and he drew another earth, and he drew two parallel lines, and he said that one energy shifted and went to one place, and another energy shifted and went to another place. So basically, he was saying that a lot of stuff that's happening now and here, and again, I had to agree. I was like, it really blew me away. I think this dude was like maybe 5 years old, like, and I felt like I was in a master's level college course, how he was speaking, and he was like, yeah, the energy is shifted, and time is, he says a lot of things aren't how they're supposed to be, and the way he was explaining, I was just sitting there listening, it was just like, wow. And it's like, I just love the fact when you're just I just love the fact that right place, right time. For a lot of you moving forward, you're going to be, oh man, move my hands. But for moving forward, right place, okay, so that's what that is. Right place, right time. Moving forward. Sometimes you may think like, what in the world am I doing here? So just kind of try to get those thoughts out of your head, and just flow. Yeah, so, and that's it. It's, you never know, because a lot of the things and places and people that you're gonna need is, it's like right in plain sight. You never know who's who. You never really and truly You never really and truly know who's who. And again, this is your first time watching yours truly, Mr. Soul of a Man. Don't forget to subscribe, folks, wherever you are watching. So, yeah, and you never know who's who out there, you know, um, like really and truly. But anyway, to say all of that, just to, keep manifesting and, um, not just manifesting but manifest, not just naturally manifesting, but not just manifesting, but manifesting with a child's heart, and seeing the reverberations of all of that stuff. Might just do that. To- yeah, we'll get that together. But yeah, so manifesting with a child's heart, and seeing all of these things, like, oh, hey man, I just spoke the love of my life into existence, and this and that, and or I just uh, your money, your health, your faith, your whatever, So, and not to another thing is not to talk yourself out of what is to come into your life, because when it starts to show up, and it's always going to feel a little different, because it may be like the first time of this iteration of your life that you're seeing it. And the important thing is, because like, I get somebody, I don't know, it's almost like you want this vintage car, maybe like a sports car or something like that. So when just see yourself driving in it, and when you get it, yeah, it's yours. Believe it. There's you're gonna masterfully have everything that you need. You're going to, let me just say it again. You're going to masterfully have everything that you need. Garage and all of that stuff, and but it may come in a different order. You may meet the mechanic, and the person that may sell you the car, or somebody who knows somebody, like different things like that. So, but the amazing thing is that moving forward, and just speaking life, even if it's just um to I would say gratitude, and just um like gratitude, and just really like walking in your power, like seriously, like your gratitude, and like, I'll say gratitude change your altitude. I know, like, I don't know what your life in its totality looks like right now. I don't. But say that things have interesting way of changing very, very, very fast at times. Life comes in different ways and shapes and forms, and how the board shifts around you, with your thoughts, and your mindset is a powerfully amazing thing. I'll say that. So, be bold, be daring, uh, put what it is that you truly want, out there on paper. If you're ever about water, however, outside into the sun, however it is that, you feel like you manifest, but we want you to manifest one with a child's heart, and we also want you to manifest as the most powerful version of yourself, like really and truly, because a lot of us, we don't, especially spiritually, we don't understand the power. It's like He-Man. If you know what He-Man, it's like, by the power of Grayskull, he says, what, I have the power, so you have the power you have the power in your life to shift stuff. And I'm not just telling you this, because I read some book or this or that, because I've seen this in my life. I feel within my life, I've lived several different lifetimes, and I've seen so many different versions of myself. I've given up, I've jumped back on the horse, I've given up. I've jumped back on the horse. I've seen people give up on me and walk out of my life. I've seen other people come into my life and believe in me. And sometimes people can see greater things around you or for you than you can for yourself. And that's the interesting thing. Hey, what's going on, ma'am? Where have you been at? Like, seriously, wow. But like, you just pop up out of thin air sometimes. But yeah, but it's a definitely time for it's time for your vision to be bold. It is definitely time for it. It is. I'll say it again. Ooh. It's definitely time for your vision to be bold, like, really and truly, because you've got, I don't know why, that song from that cartoon, that movie, was it Toy Story? I've got a friend in you, something like that. So you have a friend within. Okay, that's your child, like, yeah. So you have a friend within yourself. That's your childlike, um, that's your younger childlike self. You don't want to let them down. They're not going to let you let them down. They're like, nope, this is not happening. I did not come down here to be in mediocrity and all of this craziness. Nope, they're gonna keep pushing you. They are, because they now remember the vision. They do. They really, they remember the vision. They're like, it's time. It's really and truly. It's time for things to start to take off. So it's time for you to fly. It's really and truly, it's time for you to fly. It's time for things around, it's time for things around you, surrounding you, to start to go. You're they're saying like your vision is too small. Think bigger. It's time to, it's time for you, your inner child is telling you to think bigger. Really and truly. So that is, moving forward, that is your that's your challenge, to think bigger and to grow around that. It starts from somewhere. It has always been, it has always been in you. It is always been in you. So hold on. I know. Why me, Lord? Why me? Why do I have to go through this? Why do I? Why was I chosen? Some people say we made a decision when we came down here. Some of us had. We all wish we could have been born into a rich family, and I've seen faces on those videos of those babies in those hospitals, and they look at the mother, and they know she's broke. Like, and the baby know it's going to be a struggle. You can look at the child's face and just be like, But anyway, I'm telling you, these kids know, man. They know. The inner child within you knows something. Is that, the inner the inner child within you knows that something more powerful is out there. So this is, you changing your velocity, changing your well-being, changing your mindset, getting out of the slump, just putting on some clothes. Yes, I've been there. $5 in my bank account. Starting a new job, you can't wait for payday, because why are we on the job? To get paid, but you gotta, and let me not go down that road. But anyway, but but hey, that's why we were giving these gifts and these abilities and these powers and all of these things, so we can manifest what it is that we truly want. The big stuff happens sooner than you think. So yeah, it's it's a culmination of, it's a kid like 6, 7. It's a it's a culmination of, and half of them might even know what that means. But anyway, It's a culmination of the you now and the little child within you. So it's you now, child within you, coming together in agreement. Remember faith of a mustard seed. It's not a lot. It's just because we have to. Our human spatial awareness tells us like, well, how? But how we, and that's how you think yourself out of situations. That is how you think yourself out of situations. So it's not like the little engine that could. It's not. I think I can. You can. You've done it before, but now you're just gonna do it on a grander scale. So go do it. Go and make it happen. Like seriously, you know, you got AI and the internet. We're in that realm. Social media. You got so you can change the narrative of your social media like algorithm with your thoughts too. But we'll probably talk about that another time. You ever just get on here and you start thinking about something and stuff starts popping up on your feed? Isn't that weird? But very powerful though. But anyway, remember manifesting with what? The heart of a child. So, it's like the eye of the tiger, the heart of a champion. You've always had that in you. So go in and grow it and be great and be amazing. So, all right. So don't forget to subscribe, folks. Mr. Soul Lover Man. And yeah, man, I will holler at y'all later. All right, y'all. Peace.